doctor, not a bricklayer.
Live long and prosper.
Engage.
Fascinating.
40 years of being part of something excellent.
Powerful nostalgia, potent memories.
Amazingly important time in my life.
I don't know where sci-fi would have been if it hadn't been for Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek.
Very smart man, wasn't he?
Something about Gene Roddenberry's vision connected with an audience.
He wanted to say something through those stories, and a lot of popular entertainment doesn't even bother with that.
There are no programs that have been on for 40 years.
It was an exciting breakthrough opportunity.
We were ordinary people in extraordinary situations, going where no man or woman had gone before.
Hello, I'm Leonard Nimoy. On September 8th, 1966, the world got its first glimpse of the future. And now, 4 decades later, Star Trek continues to prosper, and its legacy is one of hope and perseverance. 5 television series, 10 motion pictures, and a universe full of memories. Star Trek has proved itself a viable piece of the human landscape.
On, Mr. Spock, very on.
The birth of Star Trek can be credited to one man, Gene Roddenberry. Gene's idea of a Western meets outer space, or a wagon train to the stars, as it was originally coined, was a concept of the future, and was ironically a concept way ahead of its time. Each week, viewers tune in to be captivated by tales of far-off galaxies and other life forms on distant planets. The real genius, however, was Gene's dedication and the writer's ability to tackle the social issues of the time.
Excuse me, Captain Kirk.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Scott.
What a charming negress. Oh, forgive me, my dear. I know that in my time some use that term as a description of property.
But why should I object to that term, sir? You see, in our century, we've learned not to fear words.
I went to Gene Roddenberry and I said, Gene, can I have a few minutes with you? He said, certainly, come in. I said, it won't take much time. I just want to tell you something that I understand. I know what you're doing. And he goes, oh? And I said, yes. You're writing morality plays, and you put it in the 23rd century. And he sat back and he roared. And then he said, shh, they haven't figured that out. And I thought that was the most wonderful thing, because then I realized that these were the adventures and the stories that he wanted to tell of the human condition.
Gene Roddenberry led a life as adventurous as the very characters he's credited for creating. He was a decorated pilot in World War II and even served as a police officer in Los Angeles. He went on to become a successful writer in the booming television era of the 1960s. In 1964, he created the Star Trek pilot The Cage, which was dismissed as being too cerebral for network television. Gene reworked his show, and in 1966, NBC gave Star Trek a second chance, and a legend was born.
The very reason for the existence of our starships is contact with other life. Although the method is beyond our comprehension, we have been offered contact.
Star Trek is, and always has been, the specific vision of Gene Roddenberry, which deals with a very uplifting, positive outlook of the future. In the future, things are going to be better. Racism is going to be gone. War and poverty and disease are going to be gone. It's going to be a time when people can pursue a better quality of life and can pursue exploration, and it's a very hopeful time.
How many others have you done this to? What gives you the right to hand out life and death?
The same right that brought you here. The need to know new things.
We came in peace.
And you may go in peace.
It's all about how to live an ethical existence. And people respond to this, especially young people who are still idealistic, who haven't had to make that many compromises in their lives yet.
You have yet to embrace either patience or logic. You remain impulsive carnivores.
Yeah? How about war? Disease, hunger. Pretty much wiped them out in less than 2 generations. I wouldn't call that small potatoes.
Star Trek always asks you to think, to say, what would you do if you were placed in the same situation?
Everything he came up with back in the 60s was kept alive to the very end.
In 1991, Gene Roddenberry passed away. He did, however, live long enough to enjoy the great success of Star Trek The Next Generation, and his vision of the future has endured to this day.
As much as I admire George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, I don't know where sci-fi would have been if it hadn't been for Gene Roddenberry and Star Trek.
Roddenberry was a very smart guy, way ahead of his time in terms of understanding human nature. Brilliant.
Gene did the extraordinary thing of creating a philosophical and moral set of, an ethical set of benefits for people.
By putting it in the future, Gene was able to talk about race prejudice, which you otherwise couldn't talk about. He was able to talk about gender prejudices, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to talk about.
Well, a man of great vision, after all, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's self-evident now.
He wanted to say something through the stories, and you know, a lot of popular entertainment doesn't even bother with that. You know, let's just do something glamorous, exciting, beautiful, sexy, whatever. But Gene cared about the content, and that lasted all the way through.
This is not a ship of war. This is a ship of peace.
Well, I would like to think that we did our best to keep his vision of the future alive in all the shows and films that we've done.